Nigeria's inflation rate rose to its highest in more than 27 years in December, the latest statistics showed on Monday, as food prices surged. The 12th straight monthly increase in consumer inflation is exacerbating a cost of living crisis in Africa's largest economy. It's also piling pressure on Nigeria's central bank to raise interest rates. Its governor, Olayemi Cardoso, is yet to hold a rate-setting meeting since taking office in September. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, consumer inflation was up from 28.2% in November to 28.92% in December. That's the highest level since mid-1996. The food inflation rate, which accounts for the bulk of Nigeria's inflation basket, went from 32.84% the month before to 33.93% in December. The Statistics Office said prices rose for a broad range of food items, including bread and cereal, oil, fish, meat, fruit, and eggs. Analysts say higher fuel prices and a weaker naira currency have also stoked price pressures. Last May, President Bola Tinubu embarked on Nigeria's boldest economic reforms in decades. He scrapped a costly but popular fuel subsidy and devalued the currency to try to revive economic growth. However, growth is yet to pick up, and inflation has worsened.
Sadly, the world has not succeeded in stopping the genocide that is currently unfolding in Gaza.
South Africa accused Israel of genocide in Gaza and demanded on Thursday that the UN's top court order an emergency suspension of its devastating military campaign. On the first of 2 days of hearings at the International Court of Justice in The Hague, South African advocates argued Israel's offensive aimed to bring about the destruction of the population of Gaza.
Israel's 75-year apartheid.
They pointed to 3 months of Israeli bombardment that has killed more than 23,000 people in the Palestinian enclave and made most Gazans homeless. An Israeli blockade on supplies of food, fuel and medicine has also created what the United Nations describes as a humanitarian catastrophe. Supporters of both the Palestinians and Israel protested outside the court, kept apart by police.
I expect the judges to order by law, right, and to call it what it is. It's a genocide against civilians in Gaza.
If anybody did a genocide, then it's Hamas.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said hypocrisy and lies were presented to the court, and that Israel was fighting, quote, murderous terrorists who carried out crimes against humanity. Hamas, which rules Gaza, launched a cross-border attack on Israel on October 7th. Israel says its militants killed 1,200 people and took 240 hostages. South African advocates told the court that didn't justify what they said was Israel's breaching of the UN's Genocide Convention. This was Adila Hassim.
The suffering of the Palestinian people, physical and mental, is undeniable. Turning to the third genocidal act under Article 2C. Israel has deliberately imposed conditions on Gaza that cannot sustain life and are calculated to bring about its physical destruction.
The preliminary hearings this week will consider whether the court should order Israel to stop fighting while it investigates the full merits of the case. The latter could take years. The case reveals stark international polarization over Gaza. Several Western countries joined Washington in calling genocide accusations against Israel unjustified, not least given the ruthlessness of the Hamas attack. At a camp for the displaced in Khan Yunis, Gazan Nabila Abu Khater could barely follow the news for lack of electricity. She has lost her mother and many other relatives in the strikes and been displaced several times. She called on the ICJ to find a solution.
Every day there is killing. Every day there is death. Every day there is slaughter. Pressure Israel not to be at war. Are they human and we not human?
Post-apartheid South Africa has long defended the Palestinian cause, a relationship forged during the African National Congress's struggle against white minority rule. The ICJ's decisions are final and without appeal, but the court has no way to enforce them.
Nigeria destroyed 2.5 metric tons of seized tusks on Tuesday as it pushes to protect its dwindling elephant population from rampant wildlife traffickers. The tusks, valued at nearly 10 billion naira or over $11 million, were crushed in the capital Abuja.
They are most beautiful on the elephant, and we should leave them on the elephant.
Mark Afua, West Africa representative for the Wild Africa Fund, said the seized ivory had been stockpiled over years.
And then today we have brought everything out to say we want to make a public show of destroying them to mark a tenure or an era where Nigeria says no to illegal wildlife trade, no to destruction of our biodiversity, no to destruction of our wildlife.
Over the past 3 decades, Nigeria's elephant population has plummeted from an estimated 1,500 to less than 400. Conservationists say that's due to poaching for ivory, habitat loss, and human-elephant conflict. Nigeria is considered a hub for gangs sending illegal African wildlife parts to Asia, according to law enforcement and experts. But counter-smuggling efforts have been stepped up in recent years.
And I can assure you that any perpetrator in illegal wildlife trade in Tusk, both those that go out to do the killings, those that do the buyings, and those that do the trading, when caught, will be fully dealt with according to the law.
Tuesday's event follows a similar one in October when officials destroyed 4 metric tons of seized pangolin scales valued at $1.4 million. Nigeria's Environment Minister, Isiaq Salako, said the powder from the elephant tusks would be used to build a symbolic national park monument, a reminder of the importance of elephants in the ecosystem. Nigeria's Victor Boniface has indicated that he will miss this month's Africa Cup of Nations after suffering a groin injury while training. The 23-year-old Bayern Leverkusen striker was sidelined for his country's final warm-up friendly against Guinea on Monday, which they lost 2-0. Local media reported that he will be out of action for up to 6 weeks. Boniface is the top scorer at Bundesliga leaders Leverkusen with 10 goals in 16 league games this season. His injury comes on top of the recent withdrawal of Nigeria midfielder Wilfred Ndidi. He was injured in Leicester City's 2-0 win over Cardiff City at the end of December. Ndidi's Leicester teammate Kelechi Iheanacho is also struggling with injury. The striker is being assessed at Nigeria's training camp with the expectation that he will be fit for the tournament, which starts on Saturday. Nigeria opened their campaign in Group A with a game against Equatorial Guinea on Sunday, before meeting hosts Ivory Coast and then Guinea-Bissau.